Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Last answer is no.
Again today, can we? That was it. That was fun, but it was exhausting.
It was electric.
That was that really felt like a deadline day.
Yeah, it did. I mean, for the Leafs, I imagine that was their deadline day. I can't imagine that there's too much more. Not that I think they're done, but that was the climax, I think.
Well, we're not slowing down today. Next 2 hours, Kevin Lowe, 6-time Stanley Cup champion, former teammate of mine in New York, will be joining us, Hall of Famer. And we're going to get the buzz out of Edmonton as the Leafs and the Oilers clash. We've got two fan base like in seventh heaven.
Yeah.
Do we not?
This has to be the highest ratings for a regular season game. I don't know in how long, but both fan bases are fired up. Sammy's fired up for tonight.
Boys, I'm walking on a sunshine today. I can't wait. I think you're onto something there about the ratings and about the way people feel about this team and the way that, people have looked at this Leafs team for, I would probably say, since the Montreal collapse.
Yeah.
That, it's just more of the same. Regular season, meaningless regular season, still the same guys. Like, I don't need to watch until April. That has been completely thrown out the door. Now that they have...
Well, so is a quarter of our team.
Well, that's it, though.
That's what I mean.
Because it's like, what is this team now? I don't know what they look like.
Like, my dad texted me this morning. He's like, can you give me a program for tonight? He's like, who plays for this team?
How about Luke Schenn missed out on getting number 2 by like a day? McCabe claimed it, right? And
yeah, so he's going 22.
double twos. I love it.
All right, let's go right away to a Kyper's Clipper, Sheldon Keefe, on the changes within his group.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if that energizes the right word, but I think everybody's gelling well. I mean, I think all the guys that we brought in are just tremendous guys and have great personalities, and that's allowed the transition to happen a lot smoother. They're all, Lafferty, I guess, would be a little younger and less experienced, but, the guys we brought in are veteran players that have been around the league a lot and like I said, have great personalities. So I just think the energy of our group has been excellent away from the rink, too. Like, not just in the building here, but you see in the hotels and some of the meals and things that we've had. We've had some off days. The guys are out and having fun together. So I'm seeing... frankly, seeing more of that than what we've had in the past. So that's a really good sign and shows that the guys that we've brought in, have fit in well with the group, and our guys have embraced them.
And that's gone right through the city. As you mentioned, you've gotten a few calls from people that you don't necessarily hear from. Everybody's aware that the Leafs have made changes. They don't even know what they are.
No, my wife was like, I heard the Leafs made deals. Do I know any of the names? I was like, you do not. But it's very exciting.
Yeah, like, I have buds that I wouldn't normally, talk to a ton that are Leaf fans I know, and we wouldn't really talk about the Leafs. It's got the casuals more back into being a non-casual.
I got a window roll down today, taking my kid to school. Someone slowed down, rolled the window down, goes, what do you think of the moves?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
And holy mackerel! Just like legit guys that right off the bat. We could sit here on any given year and go, Aston Reese,
I know we've done that.
We've done it on a number of players. Sam Lafferty. Let me tell you something. People are going to fall in love with this guy.
I'm shocked to hear you say that.
Yeah.
I honestly am. I know.
I think he's a real pro. He's diligent in his work. He takes his craft seriously. This guy's a pro.
Okay.
And, to a certain extent, we knew Noel Acciari was going to come in and be that bona fide bottom six energy guy. Lafferty, for me, has the biggest kind of window to play different roles for the club. And I think when it's all said and done, he's a guy that will jump over Yarncroc. He will jump over Kerfoot. Everybody talks about the lost speed from Pierre Engvall. Well, this guy's got speed.
It's interesting. you say that about, you mentioned Engvall and the speed that Lafferty brings. Lafferty was the one guy that I kind of a wild card for me. You know, you heard Keefe just say now, like he's one of the younger guys that they had brought in, but
At what, 27?
yeah, not a child. But it is funny to, to look at the guys that they've brought in here now. And really, I wonder if Kyle Dubas looked at this team and was like, Kerfoot, Sandeen, how long did he know that these guys didn't have what they wanted? How long did he know that he wanted this competitiveness, this fire? It's almost like when you finally decide to break up with someone and then all their little habits annoy you. Like, when did he know this was coming?
That's a good question, and I don't know if we'll ever have the answer to that, and whether or not it was just one of those awakenings where you just wake up one day and you go,
I can't live like this.
Not working.
Yeah.
It's not working. Or did Brendan, who's, from everything I've gathered over the years, gave him autonomy to work on trades and build his team, did he kind of step in there and say, come and watch some video of the time I won the Stanley Cup in Detroit with the Maltbys and the Drapers, and come and watch these guys in the bottom six, and maybe you can help us find a few more of those guys.
Little from column A, a little from column B. It is just, to me, I was struck by that thought today of like, they made a decision to pivot and to get competitive and to get a type of player. Like, did they just discover last week they needed that? Or how long has it bothered them for? Anyway.
Let's just be grateful that
it happened.
The light bulb went on.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say that this is a bit of a heel turn by Kyle Dubas on his loyal supporters?
You know,
in terms of, like, I know
see your point.
I know he's not like Mr. Chart. He only thinks about charts, but I would say a lot of his really loyal defenders would be, they'd be people that would defend, let's say, for example, Pierre Engvall's chart.
Right.
And how
chart.
He wins a lot of the minutes he's on the ice, and he's got a good chart. And Sandeen, an excellent chart as well, a good chart guy.
Yeah.
But this is both of these trades that, like, a lot of these trades he's made are anti-chart moves.
Hard over chart, baby.
Big time.
No.
So, like, you have to say that there is, and he traded guys that he's been loyal to, which has also been has been something that people have said, that he's been overly loyal to his guys.
Yeah.
There's something there with him really changing his perception.
I think people, though, if you really look at the moves Dubas has made, I think people would make the case that he's brought in heavy before. He's brought in Jake Muzzin and Kyle Clifford and Wayne
Nick
Simmons
Petan and Tyler Ennis. And
he's brought in both, but he hasn't not brought in big guys. Simmons, Clifford, Muzzin. Like, those are trades they made.
Done.
Yeah. They didn't pan out.
Past their expiry dates.
Yeah.
Muzzin was, when he was healthy, he was all in. We saw full value off Muzzin.
Yeah.
But not enough.
Not enough. Whether Gio or Brody, they're a different type. They're not what we're talking about here, but there's no doubt. There's no doubt he's gone in a different direction.
Yes.
Here. No doubt about that.
Yeah, the guys that he brought in that are the quote-unquote heart guys are young and more prime.
I love this. This is my fourth line. If I'm the GM, this is the type of fourth line I build. It's guys
are still like
27
in their
to 30,
prime, hungry, skating,
forecheck,
hitting
fast
guys.
hit, maybe a chip in here and there, but
yeah. All right. The change that I think still caught people by surprise is Sandeen out of the lineup, traded to the Washington Capitals. In return, Gustafsson and a first-round draft pick, Boston's pick, coming to the Toronto Maple Leaf. That in itself, I think, is a feather in Kyle's cap, that he was able to address everything that he has up until this point and find a way to get his scouts a first-round pick. Let's get Sheldon Keefe on Sandeen getting moved.
Well, I don't know if I'd say it didn't work out. I mean, he's played a lot of hockey for us, played a lot of good hockey for us. And I think it's just a situation where we've added guys, and he was going to be on the outside again this season, and he's a young player that that wants to play and has value in the league and all these kind of things. And I think that's more of a reflection of where it is. We ended up, obviously Kyle was able to get a first-round pick, and we also bring in a player that I think has a very similar skill set, but is further along in his path, has more experience in the playoffs, and all those kind of things. So it's just a nature of where we're at.
I heard him say Rasmus was unhappy in that spiel. Did you not saying?
I think that was pretty clear from the moment he wanted a bigger contract and just that whole thing. Just it never got back on the rails.
No, it's tough. You know, when guys are late to camp, you know, I think you can argue that Marner's worst year as a Leaf was related to that Nylander's worst year as a Leaf was related to it. You know, that start of the year, you got to kind of get things rolling out of the gates. It never got on track for Sandeen, as you mentioned. And then he was going to be the 7th guy. He wasn't happy. He's young. He wanted more. I am shocked he warranted a first rounder, albeit the 32nd overall pick. It's the next question, though, is what does that become? And is Gustafsson a part of their plans for real? I didn't know Gustafsson could play both sides. That's interesting.
Gustafsson, to me, is Sandeen in the playoffs. Just that 7th guy right now. After everything we've seen out of Kyle, I'm not sure this is it.
You're not, eh?
I'm probably about 80% there, but I think there's still some wiggle room where with this change of philosophy all of a sudden out of Kyle and Brendan and Sheldon, that, you know, what are they thinking about Hall today? Are you comfortable right now with Justin Hall and Morgan Riley?
So first thing that came to my mind as you were talking just now is if
could you flip out Justin Hall, his $2 million cap hit, and maybe upgrade a tad, because you do have some wiggle room now.
Yeah, do they have much? Well, I guess if you send a guy down or something. Right now, if you activate Murray and send Wall down, you have about $1 million, 900 to $1 million. So there's that to begin with. That is enough for Matthew Nyes. But then there's another body. You know, does someone have to go down to make room there? As we mentioned, they have 9D. Like, something kind of feels like it has to happen here. But I did think of Hall as you were talking there. So I made the D pairs today and tried to figure out what it looks like. I'll admit that Hall is a little bit of a sticking point.
Yeah.
Because you do Riley with, who do you like him with? I like him having someone who's defensively responsible, like Brody. Some people may say McCabe there, but then your next pair, if you do Riley Brody, is maybe McCabe Hall, which is your closest you can get to what Muzzin Hall was, and then Gio Liljegren or Gio Schenn is kind of how that looks.
Yes.
You know?
I'm with you. I don't think there's...
It's like McCabe Hall is your second pair or shutdown pair. I don't know.
It's McCabe Brody or McCabe Riley.
And if it's McCabe Brody, which I love and would love to be a shutdown pair for them, then you have Riley Hall. You have Riley Liljegren. Riley Schenn.
Wow.
No. You know, Riley Hall is really your only option there. So
I think you would get a lot more excited if Morgan looked more like Morgan.
Yeah, I would. But I feel like he needs some protection right now, which is, you know, love, but it could be wrong there. You could find it. Other people may disagree on how they feel about Morgan Riley, but he plays a certain way, and he's played best with Ron Hainsey and Zaitsev and Brody over guys that he needs to look after.
All right, let's go to Sheldon Keefe on so many defense.
It was no different, really, for me than where we were at last season. You know, last season at the deadline, we added Giordano and Labushkin shortly before that. So it's not entirely different for our group. We got lots of competition, lots of support for the group if there's injuries or whatever the case might be. Lots of options for me. We got guys with, you know, you look at the guys we talked about yesterday that we added. You know, they both have far different skill sets that can bring a lot to our group when we mix them in. So it's a good problem for me to have. And again, I think specifically with Schenn and Gustafsson, you got two guys that have been in this position before in terms of coming in and playing on real good teams and playing deep in the playoffs and, you know, and moving in and out of the lineup, all these kind of things. So, you know, it's like I said, it's a good problem for me to have, and you know, we'll find ways to get everybody involved.
Luke Schenn's going to be an interesting storyline for me.
Yeah.
couple of years ago, you had a guy that could clear waivers. Nobody was going to look at twice. He was able to go back to Tampa Bay, play this role beautifully.
Yep.
Earn a Stanley Cup. Then he ends up in Vancouver, logs a lot more minutes, finding himself beside Quinn Hughes.
I got killed for saying Hughes needed a better partner last year. Vancouver fans loved him with Hughes.
Loved him. Now, has he put himself in a position to come here and forget about like replacing possibly Liljegren as a 6? Could he step in and take Hull out with Morgan Riley?
That's interesting. It's really interesting because I did just mention the type of guys that Riley has had success with, and Schenn obviously did with Hughes. Yeah, that's something I didn't even consider as an option.
Different look, right hand. You keep your right-handed shot, and all you do is just get somebody out there that could punish guys.
Yeah.
Every opportunity he gets.
And I know people were critical of Lyubushkin getting the minutes he did with Riley last year, but I think Lyubushkin only played 15 minutes a game despite playing with Riley. Like they kind of found ways around that. Oh, we did crush some guy. Yeah. I had a couple things there that Sheldon mentioned. One is that they had familiarity with going in and out with teams. So I think they'll know that they are not coming here to be constant mainstays. But the other thought is last year going to playoffs against Tampa Bay. Do you remember the lineup they started in games 1 and 2? The fourth line, it was the guys. It was Wayne Simmons, Kyle Clifford. Yeah. It was their biggest, heaviest guys. I remember Sheldon had the quote. He was like, "I think there's going to be a lot of pain, or I think there's going to be whatever it was." They put the refs on notice. Violence is what he said. So that's why they started those guys.
And then what? Spezza ended up there later on in the series.
Yeah. So my point is, I wonder if in round 1 or games 1 and 2. Luke Schenn starts in, Liljegren draws in later in the series as maybe things calm down and become a hockey match more than intimidation fest.
It's not a bad thought. It's not a bad thought. No, yeah. I don't mind that. But to have Luke Schenn come in and play with Morgan Riley right away, that's one to get the brain around, Kyper.
Well, but that's why it still doesn't quite fit. I don't know.
It's a lot more realistic today than it would have been 2 years ago.
About 7 years ago. Were they both here 7 years ago? Probably.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah.
No, but like,
listen, there's some night. You don't know which Justin Hall you're going to get. That's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's.
Yeah. And this may be a Dubas-Shanahan battle because let me tell you, the fancy stats on Schenn this year, they don't like them.
Yeah.
And Justin Hall continues to kind of grade out fairly well by that stuff. Defending the blue line and stuff that Schenn hasn't done particularly well this year.
Another heart versus chart battle.
Wow. It's a huge heart versus chart battle.
Listen, gotta say it. There could be a major foot speed issue here
with Schenn.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you do have to say it.
Now you're
playing the top lines.
Yeah. Point.
Yeah, you can play it with Quinn Hughes when you're playing the bottom 16 teams as well. You're not playing Tampa every single night.
That. A lot of teams weren't willing to go third rounder for a guy that they perceived as a 6th or 7th defenseman. That was a bit of a delay in Vancouver.
Was it? I don't hate the cost on Schenn. I think a third rounder for a guy that could be a 6-7 on a playoff run is fine.
The trade basically ended up being Pierre Engvall for Luke Schenn.
So I do hate this, by the way, and
and Luke Schenn
it's a crummy return for Engvall. That may be his worst deal in this whole thing.
Engvall's a legit 15, 20 goal scorer now. He's
26 years old. He plays 15, 16 minutes a night. He's scored 15 goals 3 years in a row. PKs, he's an effective chart guy. He's not a throwaway hockey player.
He's not.
And a third rounder for him in 2024, I'm kind of underwhelmed.
Zero reputation.
No one wants him.
Helping me win in the playoffs.
I understand that the market's not there for him.
The amount of times I've spent on this show and Leafs Talk and any show I've ever been on in the last 4 years harping on Pierre Engvall.
Oh, I know.
I'm not going to sit behind the glass here and say it was a bad trade for him.
I've seen people say if you traded Engvall for a 7th, the Leafs would still be happy. It's the cap space they got back, right?
On occasion on this show, we have had Sheldon lead a Clipper with talk of Engvall.
We do.
I hate this guy.
I think we could put that to bed and call this the final Kyper's Clipper from Sheldon on Engvall. Let's have
Well,
a
Kerfoot
listen.
will go into that spot, and Aston Reese will go back playing with Achari. So we'll look at that. Obviously, Pierre's guy's played good hockey for us, and there's some things that he does for us that we'll miss. At the same time, we've added guys, Lafferty in particular, that will help us in the speed department. That you'll lose with Pierre there. Again, when you're making the moves like we have, we were able to add a lot without losing roster players, but between adding others and managing the salary cap, the reality is that you're going to have to lose some guys. But certainly thrilled with the guys that are coming in.
Okay, now I get to break down everything he's ever said about Engvall. So basically what I got out of that clip was, there'll be some things that we'll miss, and there's going to be a lot of other things that we won't miss. Yeah, we won't miss that, and we won't miss that, and that, and that.
Yeah, well, we'll miss the short list. We're not going to miss this long list of things that drove us crazy.
Yeah, just move on.
That's about it. The $2.2 million that comes back with Engvall, the frustration ends. I think, I said today on Twitter, I like the trade for the Islanders. He'll be a fine ad for them, but they have a lot of guys that play like the Leafs just brought in, competitive veteran guys. The Leafs need less Engvall.
Bye, Felicia.
That's exactly what I was looking for Pierre. See you later.
Are we done on the D? Anything else you want to add? Is there a thought, if we go back real quick on the D, 70?
I don't love it. Let's see what Sheldon has to say about it.
Yeah, I don't love it, but it's an option for sure. I don't think it's not option A, but I wouldn't rule anything out. Whatever the games call for, or whatever the situation might be. Like I said, because we've got lots of different skill sets on the back end, especially, and we've got Gustafson's a bit of a power play specialist, and you've got that. So there's definitely options there. Gustafson and McCabe can both play the right side as well as the left, in addition to Brody. So we've got lots of flexibility there.
Lots of flexibility. Them all being able to play the right side is very interesting to me. Just because you have so many options in terms of who can go where. I'm curious what they think of Gustafson. I have no sense for it. He mentioned PP specialist. He's playing 22 minutes a night on a competitive team.
The only thing is if, dare I say it, another consecutive year where the power play falters a little bit.
Right.
And he's not in your lineup. Is your only alternative, is Sheldon Keefe's only alternative is to go with 5 forwards? Like, where is his option if he says Morgan's struggling?
Yeah, you're so smart. Yeah, no, that's 100% it.
And that is something that has to be in the back of his mind. Yeah. That, okay, if we're telling people that this guy is everything Sandeen is, but maybe even better on a power play, well, I can't summon him up from the press box. Yeah, our pal, the Oak Leafs on Twitter, tweeted a while ago that the Leafs have had 8 potential series clinching playoff games since 18-19. They could have won a playoff series 8 different times, and they have gone 0-2, 0-3, 0-1, 0-1, 0-4, 0-2, 0-1, 0-3 in those games on the power play. That's a big deal. And they've lost 5 of those games by 1 goal.
Oh my God.
That's a big deal.
You cannot tell me if they're 0-11 through 3 or 4 games that Eric Gustafson's not going to handle the pill at the top of the 1-3-1. So we're going to see it over the next 22 games, almost certainly, to get a look for him of what it's like to work with Matthews and Marner on the flanks.
So who comes out?
Well, in that instance, it's Morgan, right? Morgan.
No, I'm talking about the lineup.
For D.
You've got to dress him.
Yeah.
Or is that your 7 and
maybe
11?
Oh, I hate that. But yeah, no, I see your point. I would like to see, if he play the right side, can he play with Gio? Can you do a third pair of Gio Gustafson and let Gustafson play PP minutes?
And no Liljegren.
No Liljegren, yeah.
But Liljegren's been way too good this year. We're talking like it's last year Liljegren. Like he's on
Has he been way too good?
He's on the ice at the end of games for the Leafs.
He's a good player.
He's been incredibly important. I don't think
you really, in all honesty, you're really hoping that Liljegren just finds another gear.
Yep.
And that means he's legit 17, 20 minutes a night.
That's maybe your 11-7 scenario, is that Liljegren is playing great through 3 or 4 games. He's playing shutdown minutes. He's second PK pair. And you go, we can't take him out. We got to get Gustafsson in. Maybe Zach can sit one out. Old Aston Reese can sit out a game and we go 11-7.
All right, in 20 minutes, we're going to have Kevin Lowe, 6-time Stanley Cup champion. He'll be joining us to help tee up the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. New faces, new numbers. Be a lot of fun tonight. Meaning that there's some new guys that are going to have to find a way to fit in real quick. Let's get Sheldon Keefe on whose responsibility is that.
Well, there's no doubt that I have a role in leading that and trying to trying to allow those things to happen, based, in terms of how we manage our practices, how we manage our off days, our scheduling, those kind of things. So more so just trying not to get in the way, or trying to facilitate some things that will allow different things to happen. We've already, just the other day in Seattle, we wanted it to be an off day, mainly because you needed the rest, and it's a long trip and all these things, but you want the guys to be spending time together. So those kind of things are important, but I think it is the players, that are most important in terms of how they welcome guys. And I think the Springsteen concert the other night, I think it was the new guys coming in. They didn't have much choice. They were told that you're coming to the concert, and I think everybody had a good time. It was a perfect way to welcome new guys.
Nothing like. Can you imagine if they win a cup? The boss is going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf legend forever. It'll be the new goal song. Will be all boss songs.
Would you say the Leafs have hungry hearts?
The hungry charts, no more.
Oh boy! Listen, if the Leafs changed their goal song to "Born to Run," you would have no issues from mine.
Wouldn't skip a beat, would you?
No, I wouldn't mind that at all.
See, I already think that this team has a real legitimate shot of looking like a close-knit group. And I've heard the sound bites the last few years of this team being really tight and loving each other. I just called BS right from the get-go. If I don't see it, if it doesn't pass the eye test for me on the ice, don't even breathe a word of how close you guys are off the ice.
Yeah.
And we never really saw that out of this group that Kyle put together the last 2 or 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
Now, with the way they play, and you got guys that wear their hearts on their sleeve, now you've got a chance to show people that you're close.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I even think that in some of the quiet moments, they seem to have brought in guys that are talkers, energy guys that have some experience in these bigger moments and don't get quiet and wilt. I think that Jason Spezza, poor guy, trying to get the Leafs going sometimes is a guy in the fourth line going out there mucking. Like, you'd rather have some kid running around.
And, I think there's something to the wake-up call factor of this trade as well, right? Like, in terms of, you kind of alluded to it there, Kyper, but, I mean, not to make a cross-sport reference here, and we're not sure how this is going to work with the Jays, but, Vladdy was really tight with Teoscar and with Lourdes Gurriel Jr., and they traded both of those guys and brought in different guys that are better defensively, maybe a little grittier guys. Like, there are parallels here that you bring in. You just kind of shake up the apple cart and see that you mean business. Like, I think that part of it.
We talked about to Chris Pronger. Sorry, I was just Chris Pronger talked about bringing in Brad May and what that meant to the Anaheim Ducks. You've talked about bringing in Matteau and Noonan to the Rangers.
Yeah.
There are certainly instances of teams getting some guys like this at the deadline and it helping. I know some people are asking, is it too much? Have they done too much? I'm always going to lean hard on no here because the core is the same. The people who are going to make this team go are the same. If they bring them to this close again, there are enough people around them that they can help get them through now. Like, I feel like if you change the core of a team, you change the chemistry, the locker room, whatever, but this is still Matthews, it's still Marner, it's still Nylander, it's still Tavares, and Morgan Riley. It's still their team. Ryan O'Reilly can make some claim to it maybe, but...
Yeah, I think he can make more than just some claim.
Think so?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And I just think that that Ryan now has the ability to go in that room and go up to a Tavares and say, "Hey, listen,
We need more here.
I'm gonna not necessarily. I'm gonna show you the way.
Yeah.
I'll show you the way. I know you've struggled in your career this time of year. Come on, follow me.
Yeah.
Not the other way around."
He's also, there's 5 guys who've been there. He's the old vet now. There's a whole bunch of new guys who's come after him. He's probably showing them the way around the dressing room. Like, there's probably some feeling that he's been here for, I don't know, what's it been, 2 weeks?
Yeah, he's the 5th most tenured guy in the Leafs now.
Yeah, it feels like it. Trade feels like a life ago.
So what do we expect the next 48 hours here?
We've been positive here, talking how excited we are. Can I put you guys in the trust tree here for a second?
Well, and before we do it, do you want to end on positivity with Ryan O'Reilly's quote, and then we can have it?
You know what? Let's throw that in because we do have one more Kippers Clipper on
boy.
Ryan O'Reilly and what he thought of what he's witnessed so far out of Kyle Dubas this week.
Well, I think we're all in, and I think that's the group and the consensus around. And like I said before, that's an exciting thing. It's we've got a great game here, or a great team here, and a lot of good pieces, and it's time to put in the work and start building it.
We're all in, baby.
And don't you love the follow-up? It's time to put in the work.
Yes.
That's very captainly.
The other thing that shouldn't be brushed under the carpet is the fact that there is some breathing room with a salary cap right now, and everybody said that you're going to have to, replace Jake Muzzin's 5.6, and essentially what he did was replace it with McCabe at a third of that price.
Yeah.
So, if Jake McCabe comes in and does play somewhat of a Muzzin role, you've really freed up a lot of money right now to make at least a legitimate negotiation to get Ryan O'Reilly signed on a new deal. Or Lafferty.
Yeah, well, Lafferty's got another year.
He's got one more year.
Achari.
1.5?
Yeah, one less than that.
Maybe Achari.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Noel Achari. If it works out well, if these guys show that they're worthy of letting this thing run for the next few years, there's going to be a lot more wiggle room for a cap that's going up to make sure that these guys weren't just rentals.
Yeah. A lot hinges on Jake McCabe and how he plays. You were about to let us into the trust tree, and I hate to stop you there. So
No, I was just, part of me wishes that the Leafs did.
I think I know where you're going.
Did the Korpisalo Gavrikov
Yeah,
instead
I
of
knew
Schenn.
you were going to go because it has to be said that the one place we think they're still vulnerable
As maybe the most important position in the sports.
yeah. I want to fight back against people who are saying the Leafs goaltending situation is not a problem because
well, they just don't know.
they don't know.
They don't know.
But Samsonov has played well this year, and he is their starting goaltender, and he is going to be in Game 1 of playoffs. That's great. No problem there. But goalies get hurt. And, Marc-Andre Fleury pulled Matt Murray through when Matt Murray won the Stanley Cup. Who pulled Holtby through? It was Grubauer when Washington won the Cup, winning whole series.
We had Scott Darling on yesterday who did it for Corey Crawford.
You need a backup goalie in case your goalie gets hurt.
Listen.
And you can't do it to Joel Wall. He's got 6 NHL games. He's played 17 games all year.
How closely did you watch Calgary and Boston last night?
Watched the first
Very.
2 periods, and then my eyes got.
I am watching the Boston Bruins that had no business being in that
They
game.
got filled in.
And I am watching off the charts goaltending out of Allmark.
Yeah.
Like stupid good.
Yes. That was
And
elite.
Samsonov's been good this year.
Been awesome. Top 10.
But you're talking about now Samsonov to go up against Vasilevsky and Allmark, who have shown long stretches where they are stupid good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Vasilevsky also plays 60 games a year. He's the most durable goalie in hockey.
And there are some nights when he could let him 3 in the first period, like he did last night against Florida, and the game's
perfect.
over. But that guy could be worth 2 wins in a best of 7 by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, if they need a 60-minute effort of Samsonov to win by himself. Can he do it?
I don't know, but they have to live with that because you can't really improve on him unless you want to get weird and start saying first, Nyes, we'll do Saros, we'll no.
No.
I know.
It's not. There's no makeup sex here at the trade deadline.
Right.
It was
Ekholm, Saros.
Did you leave yourself vulnerable the last 2 or 3 years? You know,
Sure.
Even if you go back past Jack Campbell, you know, there's that one area where you can go, hey, you never got it right.
And I had no problem with Freddie Anderson he was decision. Going into the playoffs, he had great regular seasons, great career. He, to me, was a fine decision. Since then, it's been questionable. But I just need someone who can at least, the idea that Joe Woll could come in if he had to and be the same as the next guy that you might get at the deadline. I don't like that. It doesn't respect the position of goaltending enough to me, and the pressure of Toronto and having to play well in those moments against Tampa. It's not fair to that guy and his development either. So I just want to see them have a backup guy. Quibble, like with Samsonov in the big picture and the Leafs past.
Yeah.
I just think they need some insurance in case something happens to a guy who's been hurt once already this year.
And so, but are we just completely throwing the trust on Murray out the window? You can't lean on it.
For me, it's just, you're right. It's a trust thing, not about his ability to play, but about his ability to be available. And frankly, if he plays, I'm also still.
There's nothing out of Edmonton today that suggests that Matt Murray may play tomorrow night.
Nothing has been said. Crickets on Matt Murray.
He has to play.
Do we assume right now they are looking around?
I do.
How can you not?
Right. And I also wonder if they would conceivably trade Murray with an asset. Would someone want to see Murray play just to know he can play? Like, would they want to play him Thursday night?
How are you not blowing up whoever's running Nashville's phone to get Saros if you're Dubas?
He's got another year at $4.6 million. Keep that in mind, right?
You've gone this.
That's pretty. That's a pretty number. Yeah, you go Saros Woll at that point and say, okay, now kid, time to figure it out.
You've gone this far doing all this stuff to your team. Like,
would you give up Boston's first and
Born child?
Your first?
Boston's first and your first for Saros?
Yeah.
Done deal.
All day long.
Let's go.
10 times.
Let's go.
All day long.
And then you fit it in.
And
now you've got.
Then you got to trade Murray with something though, and then it's more and.
No, Murray would have to go back to
Nashville with that.
They'd have to eat
He's
that.
Murray in 2 firsts. Good luck to. They got Askarov on the way. They got a guy they love.
But
just
you know
behind
what?
Saros.
I
know we're
you got
talking
a big
nonsense.
little community in Nashville too. I don't know how many. I don't know how. Keith Urban, is it?
Yeah,
I'm
he's
not
a guy.
sure. He may cash in his season tickets next year.
I'm not going to
I'm
watch.
not going to watch Matt Murray.
If you do all these incredible moves, and I am loving
and your
this,
goaltending stinks.
it just is an indictment. It's like I have a hard time believing that we're going to be sitting here doing our show at 3:00 with Paul Bissonnette in studio that day. By the way, on Friday.
What do we like for a segment? Type of thing? Yeah, great.
And we're sitting here talking with the Leafs goaltenders being Samsonov, Wall, and Murray. Still, boys, I gotta say that it's a failure.
I love that. I like that it's a stance, and I feel I don't know. I guess I don't know if I feel it's a failure outright, because what if Matt Murray just gets healthy and is good? But it's just too big a gamble for me.
I'm not dependent on that.
Like, did Corpusalo to LA feel like?
How about bailing on John Quick? The end of his 10-year deal or whatever it's been.
Did Corpusalo, like, did you really think that he was LA had Corpusalo as their first choice after weeks of looking for a goalie? Or is that just like settling?
I don't know. I would have settled for Corpusalo.
You would, eh?
Yeah.
I'm
Not settling for John Quick, by the way.
That's not a fan.
Of Corpusalo, yeah.
I was a few years ago in the bubble.
Yeah. A lot of Blue Jackets people were at that time. All right.
But just before we go to break here. So they didn't sound like they really were like in constant communication with Jonathan Quick about this.
No.
He was told after the game that basically he's going to Columbus.
Yeah, like what they're going to make the playoffs. He's been there for 10 years. He's won cups with them. Everyone is so careful with Kane and the reputation and, how he leaves Chicago.
Quick's going to get a statue. He's going to get his number retired.
And they just punted him to get slightly better in goal in a team that's never going to win the cup this year? That was ruthless, boy. Cutthroat.
That was. Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
I mean, it's the right decision. The team's better today than yesterday. Not really a great way to deal with one of your all-time greats. A Hall of Fame guy, presumably.
It's like trading Kane to the Coyotes.
Right. Just saying, hey, we got a pick for you. See ya.
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, we'll take a quick break. Kevin Lowe is going to join us after the break. We're going to tee up the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers in the second hour. Gord Stellick. Oh, my God. He's just got to be dripping happy.
He's going to be juiced up, boys.
Hey?
Gross description.
Can you be electrocuted if you're drippy happy?
You're more likely to be, is my understanding.
All right. Gord Stellick in the second hour. Wow. How many viewers on YouTube today, Sammy?
2,600 right now.
Wow. Very impressed. Okay, we need thumbs up out of a lot of them.
Let's do it.
All right. Can you get it up around 500 thumbs up for the work of Kyle Dubas? What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, we'll find out after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Yes, it is the Real Kyper and Bourne show, and we've got a dandy of a hockey game tonight. Toronto Maple Leafs and the Edmonton Oilers. Kevin Lowe joins us now. Lowe, Z, how are you, pal?
Hey, I'm doing great. Looking forward to the game.
Oh, my goodness. This one has a much different feel. Like, a lot was made out of advertising on the jerseys. Will we have name tags as well?
Yeah, I tell you, the managers are throwing away picks and prospects like drunken sailors. It's pretty amusing, but I know the fans love it, and I know everyone's looking forward to seeing the new players out there tonight.
So let's talk a little bit about the one that Ken Holland was able to land in Ekholm. No question, the last few years, the modern day Kevin Lowe, right? Stay at home, mind the net, get a little dirty every once in a while. You must be loving watching him come to the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, I sure am. Yeah, in fact, I was looking at his stats, and they're quite similar to my stats. Not a ton of offense, but enough that he's not just strictly a shutdown guy. He jumps up in the play, but 6'4", 215, and he plays a heavy game. He's been noticeable in the years that we've watched the Predators, and so that's a big piece. The Oilers really needed. They had puck moving on the back. Darnell Nurse has been carrying more than the load on the shutdown part than he probably needed to. So just a great pickup for Kenny Holland. And the piece I really liked, Kyper, was that hearing Ekholm speak about the opportunity and come. And I mean, any player in the league have a chance to play with McDavid and Draisaitl, and the Oilers are, got a chance to do some damage in the playoffs. It was nice to hear him, pumped to come to Edmonton.
Here in Toronto, we've been watching trades happen, and we meet in the studio here once a day and go, "Is it enough? Is it enough?" And Dubas keeps making moves. We go, "Is it enough?" That's the question for the Oilers here. They look like pretty good D pairs on the back end. Nurse and Ceci, maybe Ekholm, Bouchard, Broberg, Kulak. Is it enough for their decor or for their team in general, the Ekholm deal, to make you think that Ken Holland is done at the deadline?
Well, I don't know if he's done, but I would say the defense looks pretty good to me, and particularly because Broberg's really come along. I mean, if Broberg gets a chance to play with Ekholm, that's going to be massive. Broberg's a big kid. I mean, he's not filled out yet, but he's really, to me, he's got the potential to be, I don't want to say Hedman in Tampa, but, he's going to be the type of player that can play a lot of minutes, maybe Lindbaum in Boston right now. So, and then Darnell is a good shutdown guy. Bouchard's a really good power play. They have a little bit of everything. So I think they're fine on defense. But I know that Kenny Holland, I mean, it's never over till it's over, and he's already looking for some players. I think they need a little bit of grit on the bottom six. Costin has been a big addition. And, of course, when Vander Kane's back in the lineup, they do have more grit in the forward group. But if you were asking me, and I'm not making the decisions anymore, I like to see a little more grit and a little more experience in the bottom six.
Hey, Lozy, when it comes to like Jack Campbell, there's no question, a lot of people have been disappointed with the consistency. And yes, he's shown that he's been erratic in terms of his play. But what does like Ekholm do? What does restructuring a blue line do for goaltenders, especially the ones that play like Ekholm or you, in your day?
Well, I think it's a little less hectic in the D zone. You're seeing shots coming from where the goalie's expected, and not that our defense was completely porous, but when you think of Tyson Barrie, Tyson was playing great, by the way. I really like the way he played this year. But when you have Barrie and Bouchard in the same lineup, the Rangers came in here a couple of weeks ago. They got some big forwards. Our guys really had a tough time shutting them down in the D zone. A little too much offensive zone time in our end, and by having a guy like Ekholm, those guys can shut that down. So, but relative to your point about Jack Campbell, like, it's amazing. I mean, in the last 12 games, I think he's lost one game in regulation, and yet, I think the knock on him right now is everyone's waiting for when the game is 5-4 to make that last save like Grand Fear has. And I think he's going to be fine. I think, there's probably going to be a shared Skinner Campbell tandem come playoff time. And I think with what we have offensively and adding Ekholm, that was a big addition. I think the Oilers are going to be able to make some damage, certainly in the West. Of course, the East looks pretty powerful right now, but those guys are going to beat each other up. You can imagine someone's going to lose between Tampa and Toronto, and I don't like the looks of that for either of those organizations because they've given up so much. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, and we'll see what happens.
Watching this Oilers team this year, for years, McDavid has been McDavid. He's been the best player in the NHL. This year, though, he's 25 points ahead of the next best player in terms of points. He's got 50 goals, and only 3 players in the league have limped over 40. That's the part I wanted to ask you about, is the goal scoring. What are you seeing that looks so different this year in terms of being able to be the league's best goal scorer, not just point getter?
Yeah, he's just getting better all the time. And the great ones do, But I would say that probably Connor, and I haven't talked to him about it, but it seems pretty evident. I don't want to say he has a shoot-first mentality like goal scorers, but you can tell that he's not hesitating when he gets the opportunity. He's always been such a great playmaker and done that his whole life. But I think he realized now that teams recognize that. And Wayne Gretzky did the same thing in his career. Teams were trying to take away Jari Kurri and take away Tikkanen, and then Gretz just took the advantage and put it in the back of the net, and I think that's what Connor's doing. And he can really shoot the puck. He's going to end up scoring probably 65 this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if he scores 70 in the years to come.
Losey, the other night when he did score his 49th and 50th goal, after the game, the one thing that I noticed is, he didn't show the joy of a guy that hit a magic number of 50, and he certainly came across disappointed, first and foremost, for the loss, which totally I get. But I sensed more of it, to be honest with you, and I just wanted to get your thoughts and, being in Edmonton and knowing Connor the way he is. But, is there a part of him the other night that maybe gets a little frustrated that, the team lost by a goal, he scored 2, and yet it still wasn't enough, and maybe a little frustrated at the thought that he does need to score 2 goals every night to keep the team in the game, or what? But I just noticed, man, that guy should have been happier hitting such an amazing milestone.
Yeah. Well, I did see him smile, which is what's going on here? Sorry.
No problem. Is that just the intensity of Connor McDavid?
Sorry, I was just getting an Alberta emergency alert in my AirPods. So
another trade, maybe.
Yeah, trade. No. Let me touch on that. Connor. Wayne was the same way. Wayne, the records came and he was scoring all the time. It was great. He wanted to win a cup. The cup was the most important thing, and that's the way Connor is right now. I think he's having lots of fun. I think he sees the team is much better. Hey, that was a heck of a game against Boston. One little bad break. Both teams went toe-to-toe with each other, and I think, if anything, it showed that the Oilers are right there. Boston's the best team in the league right now, and it was a heck of a game. So I don't think he's frustrated. I think he'll be excited about this trade. And, I know that the Oilers are going to have a good run in the playoffs. The West doesn't appear to be as difficult as the East. And, once you get in, and guys like that take it to another level. They had the experience of last year, and that means a lot. And, I'm not around Connor a lot, but I do see him from time to time. And I think he's pretty comfortable the way things are and pretty confident in the group that he has.
Their first round opponent is still very much up for grabs. They're 4 points out of the division lead. Vegas ahead, LA ahead, and Seattle ahead, all by just a few points there. Is any team in the Pacific scare you when you're looking at the Oilers? I personally like Edmonton's lineup the best, but 3 pretty good teams that they still could draw in round 1.
Yeah, the team that played them really hard last year was Los Angeles, and against all the other teams, and I guess it's always, Calgary, we haven't seen Winnipeg much this year. We play them a couple games back to back this weekend, so see how they've improved. But no, they're all beatable teams, no question. And they, anyone like Dallas likes to play offensively, and so does Vegas. Seattle, I think they've had a great year, but I don't see them being a team that the Oilers should have to fear. So the West has never been more wide open, and it's a year. I'm sure that's what Kenny Holland's thinking when he made the move for Ekholm, and if he does make another move, that got to take advantage of it while it's here.
Losey, everybody watched Calgary kind of regroup tree living. I mean, how surprised are you that they're on the outside looking in? Because we just figured this year it would be the Oilers and Flames going toe-to-toe right to the bitter end here, but that hasn't been the case.
Yeah, it hasn't, but they played a heck of a game last night, which has kind of been their season. I mean, they completely dominated Boston and managed to lose in overtime. I mean, the shots were 57 to 20 or 18 or something. It was crazy. I watched a lot of that game. I can't quite figure it out. They just, you know how it is. Some years you don't get the team confidence all going in the right way at the same time, and you don't get on a little run where you bang off, 8 of 9 games type of thing where you get your mojo. And that's probably they've bounced back on the Markstrom was their guy, and then they've gone to the other guy, and the other guy's not doing so, they're bouncing back to Markstrom. So hey, listen, I'm tough enough trying figuring out the Oilers. I can't figure out the Flames, but I don't mind seeing them where they are. Let's put it that way.
We had Zach Hyman on our show yesterday, looking up his stats this season. I think he's 14th in the NHL in points, or maybe it was 19th. Either way, it was 69 points in 60 games at $5.5 million. Tell us about the addition of Hyman and what he's done for the Oilers.
I mean, listen, I don't want to, rub it in the lead.
Go fans, for it.
No. I mean, this guy's been as was advertised. I mean, he's there. You won't find a more quality guy. So that's, for me, is always a big thing. Wonderful, off the ice, everything he does in the dressing room, but his compete and his ability and his skill level is just been amazing as well. And it's nice to see him get his just reward in terms of putting points on the board, and people are opening their eyes towards this guy. I mean, he can play on any championship team. He could have played on any Oiler team. He kind of reminds me of Craig Simpson, maybe a little better skater. Maybe his hands aren't quite as good as Simmers were, but man, he's a heck of a player, and he's just had a great year. And we're really happy to have him. I think those type of guys are even that much more critical in the playoffs, and look forward to those guys having success.
And clearly underpaid now, right? You stole them. You just absolutely stole them.
Thieves.
One more for me, Losey, and I want to take you back to your executive days. I'm watching the general managers now go through hoops to try to make trades, the retention on salaries and three-way teams, and I'm just wondering how a Kevin Lowe would have handled a flat cap and the Rabbits that needed to get pulled out of hats. How would you have handled being a general manager trading under these circumstances?
Oh, really difficult. But the sellers have taken full advantage of it. I mean, what the teams are paying to me has never been seen. I saw a tweet where they said there's never been a deal before where there's been a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth round pick in the same deal. And I mean, even what the Oilers gave up for Ekholm, I like him a lot as a player, but Barry was having a great year. I mean, the Oilers have the best power play in NHL history, and Barry was a big part of that, and he was defending well, and so he's certainly not a throw-in by any stretch. Schaefer in Seattle, Reed Schaefer is a big 6'4" kid who's going to have a good career. They gave up a first. I mean, in past years, that probably would have been Barry and a first to get Ekholm. And this year, you're throwing in another first. So I really can't say what I would be doing. I mean, I haven't followed the cap constraints that teams have that I obviously did when I was a general manager. So you don't really see the money, but no, you have to be able to make deals and not be afraid of looking bad. The players, the fans are expecting the teams in their run to make deals, and so you got to do what you got to do. But the future of the organizations are going to suffer because for the teams that don't have success, like Tampa has in the past, they're not going to be able to, point out, well, we did what we had to do to try to get there. Unfortunately, we didn't win. There's only one team that's going to win, and there's going to be a lot of disappointment from many of those general managers who gave away all those assets.
Well, enjoy the game tonight, man. That building will be buzzing, and if this isn't as close as it gets to Game 1 in the playoffs, I don't know what is, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. It's always great to have the Leafs out here. I mean, they have such a big following out west, and it really upsets the Oilers fans, but it makes for great entertainment in the building. So, and the Leafs have a wonderful team, so it's good. I'm looking forward to it.
Good time for the game. Thanks for doing this, Losey.
Okay, boys. Nice chatting with you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
That is Hall of Famer,
Okay,
6-time Stanley Cup champion, one he shared with me, Kevin Lowe.
He had 6, huh?
6.
So many. I was saying to Sam
6.
before the show, Luke Schenn got his 2 in Tampa. Can you imagine if he were to come here and get one, what it would do for his legacy?
The prodigal son returns.
The prodigal son
yeah.
returns. I mean, he'd be a hero. One thing I wanted to touch on from that interview is I know Oilers fans, some faction of Oilers fans are upset about losing Tyson Barrie. Like
Well, Kevin just talked about it, and you think about a guy that is really good offensively, but can hurt you defensively, but you never really put one and one together. For me, anyways. I know I don't follow the Oilers like I follow the Leafs,
Yeah.
but number 1 power play in the league, number 1 maybe over the course of history. Barry's on it. Yeah, that's a bigger hole than people are letting on.
Well, for sure, and that's a big thing. But I did want to point out that their power play pre-Barrie was also unbelievable. Like McDavid and Draisaitl drive that bus. It's not that you can put anyone back there.
Yeah, but you can't. A lot of guys can screw it up too.
Yes, definitely.
They could.
So that'll be interesting. So I think Bouchard will take that role now. Jack Michaels, who, is the play-by-play guy for them, was tweeting that the Oilers power play pre-Barrie was 29.5%, 4.5% better than any other team. And with Barrie was 28.4, 3.7%. His point was it was fine before.
Okay.
It's been good. That doesn't tell us what it's going to be with Bouchard full-time. You're right that he could put a wrench in things, and they do lean on it pretty heavily, but I don't think the loss of Barrie is going to take them from a 30% power play to a 20% power play.
Okay.
I don't know. My point is you're not going to miss him.
Connor's that good.
He's that good.
You mentioned the building's going to be buzzing tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than one way. They're going to sell some beers tonight.
You think so?
Yeah, Leaf fans in there. Over under fights in the crowd, I'm setting it at like a hard 4.5.
What would a ticket be going for in Edmonton?
Would you like me to look that up?
Midweek game.
I could look that up.
Just out of
It's no average game,
curious.
Kyper. It's no average game. Deadline week, big acquisition.
I know, but money's tough these days.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Midweek would probably be a little easier on the wallet than say a Saturday night. I
Right.
would think.
For sure.
Anyways, but
People are surprised, I think, that at how well Ken Holland did in that deal. He was taking a pretty good beating on Twitter pre that deal.
I thought it's kind of double-edged sword too, because we aren't talking about a guy even 28 or 29, right?
Who's that? Oh, in Ekholm.
Ekholm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about a guy that's 32
Right.
with multi-years left on his
This is
deal.
Muzzin. It's the big bearded 32-year-old who brings size and he'll give you a great playoff run or two. And then the last year or two,
Yeah.
you hope he is playing.
Yeah.
It might be exactly Muzzin, which
And
great if you're
to
the Oilers
Kevin's
this year.
point, it didn't cost them Broberg.
Yeah. I couldn't believe the praise for Broberg from Kevin Lowe. I did not know
What
they
did
thought
he
that
say?
highly of him. He said,
Not
I
as
don't,
good
he
as
said,
a
I
Hedman.
don't
He
want to
won't
say
be
Hedman,
Hedman.
but he's talking about the shape and style and
Yeah.
whatever, you know?
But it's It's a tough
What's he,
build.
20?
It's a tough build to get. Hey, listen, there are times when early in Hedman's career, I talked to a few people and they're like, from the red light in offensively, the guy's brain dead. That's
Really?
what I remember one scout telling me.
Offensively, he's brain dead?
Offensively, that
Okay.
he has no feel for creating offense.
What do you get, 80 points the year he won the Norris or something? Yeah.
I'm talking about early in
I
his
know, and
career,
I'm saying-
really early.
Yeah, it came around.
And it came around.
Yeah. Yeah, tough to predict the development of some guys.
So on the secondary market, I'm looking at the lowest price up in the bleeders. You're looking in the 260 to 300 range
Oh, really?
for like the worst ticket in the house.
That's
Like middle of the ice, upper tank on
5?
secondary market 460.
460.
Lower bowl, I'm seeing 789 lower bowl. I'm
you imagine?
I'm seeing 500, 900.
What kind of money do you have to be like, yeah, swipe it?
Oil money.
Yeah, a lot of money. Yeah, oil money. Yeah,
They are the
yeah.
oilers. There are oil people.
But it's just going to be a hell of a game, and Oilers fans need this one. I don't know if Jack Campbell's starting.
Put in Jack. Put in Jack, you cowards.
But it could be a really long night for the Oilers fans.
I'm calling them cowards if they don't.
If Jack plays and he gets lit up.
No
and
announcement yet on starting goalies?
I haven't seen anything, no.
I mean, it's almost, what do we got, 4 o'clock here? Yeah.
If they don't play Jack Campbell, isn't that everything we need to know about how they feel about where he is right now?
Yeah. I haven't followed their game log, but it feels like he's getting the bulk of the starts again from Skinner. Is that fair? Does anyone know? I'm going to look this up here.
Looks like he's playing tonight.
No, this
Soup?
one. Listen, you don't you don't think Soup had this circled on his calendar
Okay.
in September?
I'm going to give you Soup's last 4 games. 5-4 loss, 5-4 loss, 6-5 loss, 6-5 loss.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
Brad May.
Well, it's
No,
not good.
so I'm seeing on the Oilers Twitter, they put out, it's always Campbell on playing against the Maple Leafs. It's fun to see buddies. And then I'm going to the different app and I'm seeing that Skinner's confirmed. So I have no projected, expected. So
I
I'm
would
not
like
sure.
to clarify that Campbell's games before that, he won like 7 straight games.
I put a chart in the lineup today, 2 charts.
Oh, charts.
Yeah. That Jack
Nola
Campbell
Charity.
and Ilya Samsonov seasons comparison. Jack Campbell has a 348 goals against and an 884 save percentage, a 774 high danger percentage, and a cap hit of $5 million.
I can't believe you look at this chart, Campbell and Samsonov side by side, just to look at the goaltending beating that poor Campbell took here.
You're so mean.
918 for Samsonov, 230 goals against, 895 high danger save percentage. That's really good. And he makes 1.8.
I would absolutely, if I'm Jay Woodcroft, I just forgot the coach of the Oilers there. If I'm Jay Woodcroft, there is 0% chance I'm putting him in against the Leafs tonight. You've already got a guy that's, we've talked about his struggles with confidence and all that, going up against his former squad in a building full of half full of Leaf fans, chanting Soup when he's letting in goals. Like, no, there's no way I'm putting him there.
What does it do to his confidence when you don't let him play tough spots?
3-0, 12 minutes in.
No.
You want him to win a Stanley Cup, fellas. You got to put him in the big spots.
I'm not putting him in tonight.
That doesn't help him.
No.
It doesn't help him in game 7. He needs the big moments.
No.
You agree with me, Kip?
You get Ekholm in your lineup tonight. Complete mulligan. The whole season's a mulligan for him.
For who? For Campbell? You think
Yes.
fresh start?
Yeah.
So then you would put him in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. You
Yeah.
guys are nuts.
No,
You're
no,
gonna
no.
break him. You're gonna lose him for good.
No, I'm with you, JB.
Yeah,
Put him in.
Here comes guy to shut it down in front of you. Oh, how many shin taps is Ekholm going to get from Soup in game 1? Great play. Great play.
We'll take a quick break. Stellictricity. Yes. We are fully in our second hour, which means we're going to get all of it broken down in Leaf Nation. And he does the pre and post. Stellick on tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Sammy?
We have the game on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. tonight.
Nice. All right. It just keeps getting better and better. Gord Stellick after the break. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Real Kyper and Bourne.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Great having on Kevin Lowe. First hour, but now comes the showstopper.
Is it good to be a showstopper in radio?
I don't know. That's what I'm calling Gord Stellick.
Okay.
Sammy, we got him?
We have Gordo.
Dog pound?
Yeah. Tom Hankey, Dwayne Ward, whatever. The showstopper.
How are you?
I'm set. I'm outstanding. You know.
Have you enjoyed the week so far, Gord?
I have. Well, I have. And, you know, Kippy, you and I did trade deadline days before the salary cap era when anything could happen on the final day. So we've seen more of late that it does happen earlier, and there still will be things that will happen on Friday. But I've certainly enjoyed the week on and off the ice, yeah.
And you know, you've covered the Leafs for a very long time, Gord. Where would you put Kyle Dubas's work compared to anything that you can remember in the last little while?
Well, you know, this is the most active since they was, I guess, John Ferguson when, again, the last year of no salary cap, Brian Leetch, Ron Francis, those kind of players, right? You know, which made a difference in the playoffs. The big thing is, Kippy and Justin, that Leafs weren't in the playoffs for so many years. So, you know, it was like when Lou got Brian Boyle for a second-round pick. You go, holy crap, they're going to be in the playoffs. So it's expected to be in the playoffs again and making those kind of trades. So certainly, you know, this is probably Nick Foligno had a lot of hype as a one-off a couple of years ago. But this is his best work. And, I mean, you're giving up futures, but this is his best work. I mean, there's all the cliches, right? They got to swing for the fences, whatever you want to call it. And they certainly seem to be doing that.
The days of getting Thomas Plekanec feel so long ago.
The turtleneck.
Yeah.
God.
And with Lou here, he had to shave that goatee. What a crime. Do you still get excited at all? I know you've been around this game and this team for a bajillion years. Sorry, I didn't mean that to sound like make you sound old, Gord, but you've been around the team a bit now. Do you still get excited when there's all this action, all this movement, or is it just, another day at the office?
Well, it's never another day at the office, Justin. But, you know, so I guess I don't know what the right word is, but I think people do get too excited. I mean, it's so sexy. It's so like everyone loves trades. They just love them. And that's not the way, you know, you're going to win because of Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, John Tavares,
Yes.
William Nylander, Morgan Riley, TJ Brody, and, you know, all those particular individuals and that. But it just, I don't know. There's some, and the trade deadline, it's the old thing about the insatiable appetite. That's why we have 24/7 radio. 24/7 TV when, you know, decades ago people wouldn't think you could sustain it. But there's an insatiable appetite for the sports fan, and nothing is sexier, nothing gives you more optimism than a trade. And all of a sudden, you know, Jake McCabe right now is in considerate for the Norris Trophy. You know, and,
I know he's going to throw a pizza in game 2, and everyone's going to be like, boo.
on, you know. So, but I do enjoy this time of year. I love when it's over as well. That we don't keep because it gets a little, it gets a little bit over the top, and and it's nice when you can close the door Friday at 3 p.m. and we can talk about other things.
You know, Gord, for our show all season long, we marveled at a team that could hold itself into a top 5 all season long, but there was a strong wish list that we had, and we had spoken in great lengths over the course of the season when it came to a top 6 forward, a bottom 6 forward, a top pairing D-man or depth D. Did Kyle check all the boxes?
Well, he checked all the boxes, but also it's like you can study better for exam, and then the end result still isn't the same. You still get what all of us in sports media got to see or something, So, but he did, and so you got Ryan O'Reilly top 6. You know what got me, Kippy and Justin, as the year went on is, and I don't want to go like way back about Berg, Zezel, and Osborne. I guess that's too far back, but a defined third line and fourth line, and I just couldn't get excited about the makeup of any of those lines. You know, starting with Dennis Mulligan at the start of the year and on and on and on. So I think that's as important as anything with Sam Lafferty and Noel Cherry, that you've got more options on those two particular lines. And then the big thing on D is, okay, so you get some depth in D, and also with Jake McCabe now. So you're looking at, in the playoffs, So you got McCabe, Brody, Riley, and Giordano. And basically, those four guys can play about 48 minutes. And then your 5 and 6 can play 12 minutes. I mean, the Blackhawks did that a few years ago, that they sneak Kimmo Timonen on for an offensive zone faceoff. Basically, I think they had 3D, going all the way. So I like that part in many, many ways. Again, I'm really happy the way the goaltending's played out during the regular season. I'd rather have Andrei Vasilevsky on our team or Curtis Joseph or Ed Belfour, but we don't in Toronto right now. So that, hey, Jordan Binnington won a Stanley Cup a few years ago. Other non-Vezina Trophy goaltenders have played well in the playoffs. And, that's the one thing I still don't know. It's not playoff proven at this particular point, or Matt Murray anyway, not for the last couple of years. But to answer your question, Kippy, Kyle Dubas definitely did check all the boxes.
So there's a number of things that I imagine Leafs fans, and in particular Dubas and Keefe, will want to see from this Toronto Maple Leafs team with their new additions before they get to playoffs. Like, we're going to want to see O'Reilly, Tavares, Matthews as 1, 2, 3 centers. We're going to want to see, there's 9D now. We're going to want to see them all get some run. Gustafsson run a power play. What do you want to see most? What of the potential things the Leafs can do now interests you the very most?
Well, I think the one is as well that I know, because you have this, you're kind of home and cooled out as far as making the playoffs. I do think it's still an important goal to try to get home ice advantage. Mm-hmm. That, particularly against Tampa Bay, it seems it's rather significant. So in doing all those other things, I mean, still the ultimate goal is to carry at this pace that you've been for most of the season ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Justin, I'm really, it is interesting about during the playoffs. Do you go 3 deep with the centerman? Is that more important versus kind of the 2 super lines when, John Tavares has been the guy that kind of acquiesced and got put on the wing in that line. So I do want to see the differences there, that, okay, with 3 lines, is there not an appreciable drop-off? Is it actually a more effective way that you could go out and you can, maybe check their big line? And, so I want to see that. Again, I do want to see the eyeball test more about Jake McCabe. I mean, I've liked seeing him with a very bad Chicago Blackhawk team in that, but just as far as that evolves, I want to see what Morgan Riley's all about. He's not, obviously he wasn't added via trade, but just, he's a guy. I'm very bullish on Morgan Riley, but he's a bit of a lightning rod that there's been times where he's been the next tier below Norris Trophy consideration versus a guy who's been a little bit inconsistent. So I'm just hoping that the D come together like that, in that respect. So I want to see that. And again, I don't know what to say about the goaltending. I mean, I've seen what I've liked about the goaltending. If it starts to go south, it's too late. You got to go with what you have right now. But I do want to. I hope remains a consistency in the goaltending. And then about the energy that Achari and Lafferty bring. I mean, I assume that's what we've seen it with Achari for a few games already. And I want to see exactly how does it shake out, that you get the third line that you're the most comfortable with, and the fourth line that can, be that odd energy line, because that's something they've never had in the playoffs, like a third or fourth line that's been a bit of a difference maker.
We're talking to Gord Stellick, Leaf Nation pre- and post-game, former Leaf general manager, gearing up for big tilt, Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So talking about earlier about checking all the boxes. We've seen Kyle Dubas in the past pull out a David Rittich for a 3rd-round pick. If there's anything out there like that, would you do it, or would you just hope and pray that Matt Murray stays healthy enough to at least give you that type of look going into the playoffs?
Yeah, well, it's funny. One of the more personal guys, if you ever get him on radio, is Jeff Zatkoff, right? And he was a 3rd stringer that got a playoff start out of the blue the year the Pittsburgh Penguins won the Stanley Cup. Kippy and Justin, again, what's the accurate read on Joe Woll? It seems like this is the year that, based on merit in the American Hockey League, just like whether it's Swayman in Boston or someone, when you play really well at the AHL level, that it seems based on merit, you feel like you're on the verge of making it to the NHL. So I don't know what is better. Like, would a David Rittich be better this year than that as the number 3? Again, I'm assuming Matt Murray. Like if Matt Murray's, if you got the heebie-jeebies about his health, well, then you're talking about Joe Woll possibly being a number 2, and then you really need to add somebody in depth. Do you guys think Jonathan Quick's going to stay in Columbus? Do you not think they're going to eat 50% of his money and flip him somewhere? Like I can't see that. Yeah, like I can't see that being the final spot for Jonathan Quick, Kippy, and Justin. Like, so I wouldn't. Hey, if you're trying to check all the boxes and you want to check the depth goaltending box for whatever the round pick it is, I mean, it shouldn't be overly significant. Like, I'm okay with that, but it proved to be a non-factor with David Riddick when you're out in the first round. Goaltending depth didn't matter.
Well, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see this Leafs team, the way they're constructed now, Gord, a little bit more aggressive, fast, forechecking type team. We've been chatting about Tampa Bay, the first round opponent. This is a rare opportunity to build a team to contend with another team, right? I know, talking to Kyper, he'd rather see them build to win 4 rounds, not 1. But for Dubas, there's certainly one big hurdle here before they can even think about doing that. How do you like the way they look against Tampa's defense? Because I feel like with Chernak hurt all the time, Bogosian's up, Perbix is in, Fleury's in, Cole's in. Like, is it maybe the one area where the Leafs can get to Tampa a little bit?
Well, yeah, and Justin, I mean, just like Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Marner, and Matthews are those guys that really are built for 4 rounds. Like, just that based on talent, they're built to go. You'd hope all the way at some point, but to get to the minutia of Tampa Bay, I don't disagree with what you're saying, and that they've been good pickups. Considering the opponent, I'll tell you, and you just cited it a bit on the defensive side. Like, I mean, God, the New York Rangers have a scarier defense than Tampa Bay. Now, Tampa Bay's got Stanley Cup rings, which is an intangible. And I'll tell you another one, and it's a little one. We always talk about Boston getting older. Now, they still have the Charlie McAvoys of the world, a bunch of younger guys, so that's a bit of a misnomer. But they've shown as they've got older, they haven't got old, right? And it's it's having a phenomenal season. And in Tampa Bay's case, a lot of their guys are in their early 30s, which isn't old. But the Leaf guys, man, they're hitting the mid-20s, their prime, right? So I don't know if that becomes a little bit of a factor as well. Incrementally swinging in the Leafs' favor. A 7-game series last year. If they could have scored in overtime in Game 7 when they outshot Tampa Bay, if they could get that Nick Paul goal from someone comparable, and they seem to enhance their chances by upgrading their 3rd and 4th line. So that's what you're talking about. And again, I like doing that. Does it make me feel better against Tampa Bay? I don't know what the word is. I guess it seems to be as an arm race that you've loaded yourself up with more weapons. How they get fired remains to be seen, but I don't disagree with that strategy, that philosophy.
2 of the bigger names on the Leafs, Morgan Rielly, as you just mentioned, and Austin Matthews have had peaks and valleys all season long in their game. If that trend continues for the next 20, 22 games, Gord, is there any concern at all for this roster going into Game 1, or have they done enough in the past to just give them the benefit of the doubt that they will be ready?
Well, boy, if they're not ready, what can you say? I'd say absolutely give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, Morgan Rielly goes way back. I mean, he's experienced all those killer losses. It's not even that you lost playoff series. You've always lost in the deciding game. Like, it's almost unprecedented. I don't know other comparables in that regard. And, you forget Austin Matthews in a lot of ways. One of the losses one of the early losses to Boston could be thrown at Mike Babcock for deciding he was going to do it his way, and Austin Matthews would get less time than Thomas Plekanec or whatever, just those kind of things. So they've seen a lot. And they've also seen guys coming up with their worst games, generally goaltenders in the deciding game, or Jake Gardiner in the deciding game. Last year really wasn't the case in that regard. So I got to think, I've loved the regular season they've had. I got to think they're loaded for bear, all ready to go. And I'm tired of the built-in excuse that, oh, my God, the poor Leafs have to play Tampa Bay. Like, as they talk about it, they had Montreal and Columbus in consecutive years, and they blew that opportunity. And if you're going to win it all, if you're going to go deep, you got to beat good teams. And, maybe it's a little bit – it shouldn't be the case. You meet a team like Tampa Bay in the first round, but cry me a river if you lost. No more about the handshakes being a little firmer, a little bit more sincere. It's time.
Gord, why do you think things are happening earlier? Why do you think there's this weird run right now? Like, there's not much left. Your years of covering the deadline. Is there anything that stands out for you that would be the impetus for this sort of early run here?
Well, Justin, the Caps kind of twisted it that way for a number of years, just because you can't wake up on draft day. And again, I'm going back a lot of years, but to go back, because David Poile's just retired with the Nashville Predators, but there was a trade like 30 years ago that David Poile woke up as general manager of Washington. Jack Farrar was general manager of Minnesota. They had not discussed this deal, and they made a 2-for-2 deal. Let me get it right here. Dino Ciccarelli heading to Washington along with Bob Rouse from Minnesota, and Larry Murphy and Mike Gardner going to Minnesota. You're talking 3 Hall of Famers of the 4, right? And now in the Cap era, you can't leave that to the 11th hour. Look at all that went into the Patrick Kane acquisition. Look at all that Brandon Pridham's had to do with the Toronto Maple Leafs to make them cap compliant. So that's just not possible. And the other thing, though, Justin, is just this. I'm trying to figure out, did it happen overnight that the East became so dominant? Like I knew that, like the West was dominant for years. And I knew there was trending back in the other direction, but I just think that's been a factor as well, that the East is a beast, and and GMs have really responded in kind about, the Rangers get Tarasenko, then Boston does something, and Toronto does something, and everybody's got to get in with a move or two, because and that's why in the West I'm curious if someone might not go bigger in the West, because there's a pretty wide open opportunity to seize to try to get to the final.
Gord, do you think if you showed cojones as big as Kyle Dubas this week, you would still be the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Well, I prefer Chuck Swirsky's phrase onions, okay? And trust me, in dealing with Harold Ballard, I'm satisfied about the size of my onions. And I did get 2 first-round picks in a trade for Ken Reggett. Unfortunately, decades later, it's still the joke about our scouting staff didn't go further than Belleville as far as having 3 first-rounders that year. So anyway, Kiffy, I wish I had year 6 having onions or whatever it was in that regard. But
what's your worst trade, Gord? What was your worst?
Oh gosh, I was walking on Yonge Street in the summer with a friend, and a car drove by, and someone yelled something at me, and my friend said, "What did this person yell at you?" And I said, "He yelled Cordic for Courtnall." Okay, I used to a beautiful summer day as I'm walking to grab a coffee. So anyway, the upside is I'm still noticed, right? That's the upside. Is like they don't know Floyd Smith or John Ferguson or all the others, or Mike Smith or whatever. So anyway, that is something I will wear to my grave.
Hey, listen. How about one that you turned down that you regret? You remember any of those?
Because we weren't a winning team at that time, I'm actually more pleased about the Vultures moved in like crazy about thinking they could get, and it's funny, before we traded Russ to Montreal a year later, I remember Pat Quinn gave me a scolding that it got out the Garth Butcher for Russ Courtnall perspective trade and all that, which we didn't pitch in that. So I don't really remember anything that I turned down. I more remember I'm happy I turned down more, because particularly when there was no cap back then, like you're in a lot of ways dealing in a disadvantage, going on. I'm happy about them. I'm not gonna. I sound like I'm testifying in court here, but you got Rob Ramage for a 2nd-round pick, and then Louis Franchisetti for a 5th-round pick, and he got 21 goals that year of that. So little things along the way, but. Nothing I'm going to put on my tombstone.
Nice.
Actually, I'm going to get cremated, so I don't have a tombstone, so don't worry about it.
No dried up, shriveled raisins on that one, Gord.
That's it. 100%.
All right, pal. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Gordo.
Hey, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
The big kahuna, Gord Stellick.
The kahuna with the cojones.
Yes. He seems fairly confident. He doesn't expect anything to happen in between the pipes for the Leafs.
Yeah, he's nuts. It's got to happen. By the way, is there any GM in history with no awful trades? Like, it's impossible to do the job if you have any sort of stones without getting something wrong.
When it comes to percentages, just think baseball. That you hit the ball 3 times out of 10
Hall of
You
Fame.
can be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
3 out of 10.
Yeah.
Not 5, not 7.
Get a few right.
Trays are probably the same way.
I don't know if that math checks out.
3 out of 10. You're not going to the GM Hall of Fame?
You got to win a few.
3 out of 10.
You got to win a few pretty significantly for the 3.
All right, maybe it's bad
Maybe
using
the 7.
baseball on that.
Wow. Great day.
God, it's got to be nerve-wracking, for general managers knowing that decisions like that can alter years, your career, all of
Future
it.
employment. And like you're tied to things you did in previous jobs. Like usually if you mess up in your first job washing dishes at Boston Pizza, that would be me. You can live that down.
You were an aquatic technician as well,
I
buddy.
also was,
Nice,
I delivered
nice.
pizza there as well.
Oh,
I
yeah.
worked my way up to waiting
Listen,
tables.
if there was no stigma, I'd still be delivering pizza, boys.
What a
I
job.
loved it. Best
What
job
a-
I ever had outside
it's-
of this one.
I did it at a couple places. What a career it should be.
It's a great job.
Anyway,
The restaurant business?
no, delivering
delivering
pizza,
pizza.
specifically.
Yeah.
Just driving around listening to tunes.
Yeah, that's why
people throwing you toonies.
That's why I
Perfect.
do this, because I would drive around all day long listening to the fan, listening to Kyper on Hockey Central at noon.
Yeah.
And I was like, I one day want to be on the radio with Nick Kyper.
Oh, you play your cards
Wow.
right. That could happen
What a
one day.
story. What a story.
It's true though. Like I honestly,
Yeah.
And then you get there and it's like,
no, it's lived up to the expectation.
come on, this is as good as it
Oh,
gets.
some days you get days like
Hey.
yesterday, and it is as good as it gets.
I always told you that one of my favorite stories. I'm playing with Ray Ferraro in New York, and coaches are coming in doing the pregame, and then there's Dick Todd, one of the associate coach, and he's talking about our segments to win money, and then he ends it with, "Okay, boys, peckers in the air." And Ray Ferraro looks at me straight faced and goes, "You work your whole life to get to the NHL, and that's the help you get." And it's like,
Oh, yeah.
you're thinking you're going to get top
Yeah,
coaching,
get this
right?
elite.
It's a science. This is the NHL, the greatest league in the world. And all you're just told is to get on the ice with your peckers in the air.
Don't make no sense.
I will say that frustrated me throughout my career. It was a constant source of anguish with me. Was that having a coach with his hand down his pants and his belt buckle undone, standing in front of the room with a bottle of chew spit beside him, weighing in on something, and
Yes.
you're down 2-1, but you've been playing fantastic. He doesn't see anything but the score, and he's going, I need someone in this room to go get in their face, and you're like, God damn it, like. Get a little bit of thought, some strategy here.
All right.
What?
No, I was just going to say, we're done ripping the league on.
Well, it is human.
Yeah,
It's human at the end of the day.
For sure.
You know?
We're just
Yeah.
tongue in cheek in this thing.
For sure.
There are some good coaches in the NHL. You do get some good feedback.
Yes.
We suck. We haven't forechecked. We haven't done anything.
We suck.
All right. Anywhere you want to go in particular?
I just created
Yes.
I created a fake trade.
Oh, hold on. Really?
I did.
That's
Oh,
where.
Fake trade Wednesdays.
I know.
Okay.
It's going to be past the trade deadline
Okay.
Friday.
Do we want to take credit for the Lars Eller trade that we called, or that Kyper called in the show 2 days ago first, or do we
Sure.
want to?
Take the
that
credit, take the
abs
victory
was-
lap.
That was written a while ago.
Like that pickup for them. Good playoff performer
Oh, no. This guy's a pro.
for sure.
And just watching him, covering him during their Stanley Cup run
He's a big part of that
in
win.
Washington,
Big part of that win.
he was a stud. So I think that's a very good pickup for Colorado, who might start to shape into maybe
Yeah.
signs that they might legitimately take a run at defending.
The beat writer for them, Peter Baugh, who we've had on this show before, tweeted out their fully healthy hypothetical lines in Colorado: Lehkonen, McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, Comfort, Nichushkin,
Yes.
Nieto, Newhook, Rodriguez, Cogliano, Eller, O'Connor.
Yeah, that seems
So,
like a team
Chen-
that's
Elite.
going to the Cup final again,
Elite.
probably.
Right. So Landeskog
And then Makar,
will come
Manson.
on after the trade deadline.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that'll happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's saying he's healthy now. They should put him on now.
Yeah, put him in. No, I think they'll work their way around the cap as best they can.
Eller's a little greasy, too.
Yeah.
He's got a little dirtiness to his game, which you need in the playoffs.
He does.
Yeah. which
He
you need.
does. Okay, so like what's left here?
What, for
guys?
the fake trade Friday? The Wednesday?
We just down to Chychrun, really, as
Boy.
the last. Give me another name.
All right, I will.
UC Soros in my trade.
There's no sense that they're going to do anything there.
Okay.
I don't know.
Tyler Bertuzzi
I
from Detroit.
mentioned that a long time ago.
I know.
Like when you sell.
Yeah.
How old Soros? 27?
Yeah. He's older.
Yeah, they might want to keep him.
I love that. Okay.
He is
Names.
20. He is
I'm
27.
going to give you some names. Tyler Bertuzzi from Detroit.
Like him.
Back in play.
JVR.
No thanks.
Doesn't excite me.
Doesn't excite me either. Joel Edmondson, Cam Talbot, Shane Gostisbehere, Brock Besser, Nick Bustad, Max Domi. Oh, man, this is
Besser,
thin. This is thin.
Besser's got 2 more years at 6.25, if I'm not mistaken.
He does, yep.
So you're going to have to get New Jersey, Minnesota to eat 25% of that.
Trade has happened.
Oh.
Shane Gostisbehere. This is just the most Shane Gostisbehere destination of all time.
Oh, let me guess it.
San Jose.
No, it's a contender.
Oh.
All right, go ahead.
Hold on.
Carolina.
Carolina,
For a
hey?
third. For a
Yeah,
third round
that's
pick.
a Carolina move.
It is such a Carolina
classic
move.
Carolina.
Charts love him.
He can move the puck.
Yeah.
Can't move a lot of
Yeah,
bodies.
that doesn't excite me at all.
Carolina is flailing to keep up in the
Mid.
East. Yeah,
Yes.
So
exactly.
Where do you envision Chychrun going? I had
Ottawa.
maintained for the last little while that there's a decent chance that he could stay.
If I'm Jacob Chychrun, I'm like, can you hold out? Can you just stop
He will
playing
be
for your
so
team?
sour.
I'm not leaving.
How could
So-
you not be sorry? The guy's been out since June.
And
Held out.
yeah, and I've heard, as other people have mentioned too, that like there have been deals in place. And Kyper, you had talked about the one with LA once upon a time that have been agreed upon between.
That's your information?
Yeah.
See, that warms my heart because, totally heard that.
And then the plug get pulled, I think, by ownership. Like not liking the money that they'd have to pay. It sounds like things are tight there in Arizona.
Yes.
And not a good way.
I'm not leaving.
Does Chychrun to Pittsburgh make sense for you guys?
Yeah,
Yes.
Because that's a bit of a rumbling right now.
I could see that happening for sure.
It's Pittsburgh.
And they waived a couple guys yesterday for cap stuff. They waived.
They were
McGinn.
talking about
They
the
waived
the
Friedman.
Miller and Besser guy. Like they're looking to get a player here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about Ryan McDonough to Pittsburgh? 6.75, 3 more years. Veteran guy to go with their veteran. Too much money, maybe?
God, I like him with 2 other really good guys.
Yeah, you like him as your third best defenseman.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. At his age and the mileage that he's had, I would think that it probably would just be too much weight on his shoulders there.
This is the most insane trade deadline I've ever seen, that we're talking about Chychrun, and then after that, it's like, I don't know that there's an impactful player left.
Yeah.
Like is JVR moving the needle for anyone?
And
Then great player, great
And-
career, but
you'd need he's finishing a
Costs a
$7
lot.
million contract.
JVR has $7 million
That's-
contract.
so-
Expires this year, but
Need a third team there, don't you?
probably no one's wants 3.5 schmil. Yeah, you're at least looking for 50%.
Does Gibson and
Parayko
Gord
maybe? Parayko's interesting.
Gord Stellick mentioned Gibson, and I can't
No, thank
recall. Is it 3 or 4
Still
years?
a long time left.
4 more years
I think so. Let me just check
at
it.
6.25. Can you get anybody to pick up 50 or 25% of that?
Like you want to do retention?
Yeah, like
double.
like Anaheim would be excited to pick up 50% of that for 4 more years.
He makes 6.4 until 26-27.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
No, thanks.
That's a lot of money.
It is. Yeah, no, Parayko is another name that I guess might be interesting. I don't know.
So is Jersey and Carolina comfortable?
Carolina
with their goaltending?
Carolina has had great teams, and we've heard from numerous people that they have been loath to give up an asset. They want people to come in, play on entry levels cheap. You know, they don't want to take any risks, spend any extra money, and they're going to blow a window. A good window is a great team because they failed to get Timo Meier. They failed to get the big fish.
This is setting up to be a very Carolina Hurricanes season again, where they're
great. They'll lose in the second
they're
round.
absolutely elite.
Yeah.
They're elite. They're ahead of the Leafs. They're a top 5 team in the league. They're a top 3 team in the league. Maybe they're the second team in the league.
Yeah.
Regardless, they just still for me, they don't move the needle. Like I wouldn't be picking them against anyone.
It's a lack of game breakers, right? Like when you look at their team and they have a lot of good players, but like they don't have McDavid and Draisaitl or Matthews and Marner or Kucherov and Hedman or, you know, whoever you think your 2 superstars are, Panarin and Zibanejad and on. Like Svechnikov's good. Okay.
Sammy, did you notice?
If the playoffs started today, they're playing the New York Islanders in the first round.
I think it's a good series.
To me, I'm picking maybe the Canes in like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Like that's a series with an elite goalie for the Islanders, gritty team that's built for the playoffs. Like
that's no walk.
Did you notice last night that you may have jinxed Nick Foligno? Did you see?
Yeah, you broke his
Foligno?
back last night. Eh?
What?
Did you see Foligno come off the ice last night?
Little Ginger?
Oh yeah.
I was dozing, boys.
And I
I'm
think-
not gonna
I
lie.
hope
I
it's
think
not
it was supposed to be
kidding
leg,
aside, I
but-
hope it's not serious.
Me too.
But it didn't look very good.
It was actually, so they said on the broadcast, I think they said leg, but it did look like an awkward kind of,
I'm like, I would feel horrible for him.
Yeah. We've been
because
talking him up for
he
days.
was just in the zone for the Boston Bruins.
But did we even mention Dmitry Orlov went into Boston, scores, backdoor primary assist. They win 4-3. He was unbelievable.
Did you do the game last night?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, he's really good.
He was, but this was like his best game in 10 years.
It's Zadorov who stepped up.
Yeah.
On the 5 minute to go game, and
Kaboom.
I love a big hit as
Great,
much as
yeah.
anyone, but that's not the time to step up.
No, you didn't think. I
No.
mean, to me, it was like if everyone else had kept playing, but everyone on his team was like, "Whoa, cool hit!"
But he took-
Dubé stopped coming back.
Did Dubé collide as well in that? He took one of his players.
Yeah, another player of his got wiped out, so he took out his own guy.
Interesting trade just came in here too.
Oh, this is the best.
This is from Chris Johnson saying that the Canucks have acquired Philip Hronik.
Oh, really?
And
From
a
Detroit?
4th rounder for a conditional 2023 first, the New York Islanders pick, I guess, that they got in the Horvat trade, and a 2023 second rounder.
So Detroit's selling.
But
Hronik's a good player.
Yeah.
Isn't he pretty young? Like,
Yeah.
How old, Sammy?
I'm looking right now.
24.
He is a 25-year-old man who
And
has
what's his contract situation?
I'm looking it up right now.
That's all you need to know.
Interesting on Detroit. You know, I am glad we're getting to talk about Detroit. That is the most embarrassing 2-game showing I can recall seeing with your season on
he's
the line,
pissed.
playoffs
They
in
were
the mix.
pissed.
Ottawa comes in and, I mean, absolutely
Smokes you.
bullies you. 6'2", 6'1", sit down.
And you got Brady Tkachuk going, hey, come on, who's there?
Someone
Come on.
do something.
And you just sit there with your...
Embarrassing.
One of my best buddies, Keegan, he texted me this morning. He said he's a diehard Red Wings fan. He texted this morning. He said, Brady Tkachuk is our daddy.
Yes.
He owns
Yeah.
them.
Speaking
Full
of dried
stop.
up, shriveled raisins.
That's what Detroit showed.
So
in those
Hronik
games.
makes 4.4 this year and next, and then he's the RFA after that.
That's great.
So, and oh, by the way, they did sign Dylan Larkin to an 8-year
And, oh,
contract
by the way,
extension today, which we
Stevie
didn't mention.
Yzerman got his hometown discount.
Yeah, 9 was kind of the number. and-
Oh, yeah. 8-7.
8-7,
So, yeah, 9.925. He saved $500,000 off the year for a hometown discount, which
big.
I don't blame him. Take it.
Yeah, and you know, if you're Dylan Larkin,
You don't care about the $500,000 to stay home.
yeah, you get to be the guy. You're going to be a lifelong Red Wing. You're going to be
Yeah.
a part of this when it starts going the right
Mr.
way.
Michigan.
Yeah, until they trade you with
Worked out
half a year
well.
left in your contract like John Quick. But
That's kind of a weird trade for the Canucks. Like, you're giving up a like Just draft somebody.
I think it's their way of looking at it like we turned Bo Horvat into a 25-year-old right D with control who's an RFA after. Like,
I guess.
I like that.
I don't know. Hronek was the guy that Ryan Reeves annihilated that one time.
I just don't know where they going in 2 years, Vancouver.
You know, he's 25 though. Like if he's 27 to 32, you know, like you expect him to be a good player.
That's a weird one.
Yeah. I'm going after the 21, 22-year-old though. I am.
I guess it depends. Yeah, you depending on what sort of window. But no, I don't agree. I think he's going to be good. He's got some runway for them. I don't know. I mean, he's got 38 points this year as a guy who's, you know, a right shot guy who are tough to come by. I see your point. I see your point that he's not a prospect.
I just think
he's had a lot of minuses in his career. Oh my God.
Detroit's been terrible.
There is windows that you want a core group to come up together with.
Which is why Chicago to me is too far off. They're trying to be good in 2028.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe. Oh, they are really far off.
Wait.
Yeah, they're 5 years away.
Yeah.
5 years away.
5
All right,
years away
Toronto,
for you, 5 years away.
Edmonton. Give me
is our show over?
give me some
Jeez.
numbers tonight, guys.
No idea.
So I'm going to be the guy who's going to get killed for this, but
Edmonton.
no, the Leafs have gone in there and they've spanked them. You remember in the bubble, they went there and beat them 3 straight times. I don't know what their head-to-head is.
I have it in front of me. Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid head-to-head. In the team record, the team record is when those two guys, Austin probably missed some games. So Austin Matthews' record is 10-2-2 against the Oilers.
They had their number, brother.
Love it.
Listen,
it's going to continue tonight.
You know, you want to do head-to-head, do Marner and McDavid.
I don't have
Marner's numbers are off the charts too, I think, against the Oilers.
Yeah.
What do you like? It's automatic. It's Matthews versus McDavid.
Because,
I think it's switched this year.
No.
I think it's Marner versus McDavid.
No. Oh, and that's the end of the show.
You guys. Still not enough love for Marner. All right, give me a score, JB.
2-1.
2-1.
Leafers.
Stop it.
Defense.
Our thanks to Kevin Lowe and Gord Stellick. We're back tomorrow. Enjoy the hockey game, everybody.